In this video, we are going to solve this exercise. So the exercise says find the output of the code snippet below. So here we are looking for the value of num_a plus num_b. We define num_a and num_b using the keyword var, and we know in declaration phase var creates a box and initialize it with undefined. So num_a plus num_b will be undefined plus undefined, and that will result into nan. We can also test the output here, and it is nan. Moving on to next, here we are also looking for num_a plus num_b, but this time we are defining it using let. And we know that in declaration phase, let doesn't initialize the box. So it will throw an error saying num is not defined. Num_a or b is not defined. So it will throw an error. Moving on to next, here we have a variable num_a and num_b. So in declaration phase, it will not be initialized, but in execution phase, the value will be 21 and 31. So it will be 51. Let's test it. Moving on to next, here we are saying console log say hello. And we have defined two functions say hello. So whatever comes last will be executed. One important thing to notice is this is a function declaration. So in declaration phase, it knows that it is a function, and that's why the output will be a log of message say hello. And we can see here log of message hello, not the message hey, because two function with the same name, the one that comes later will override the previous one. Moving on to next, here we are looking for calling the function say hello, and it is a function declaration, so it will work. In function declaration, you can call a function before defining it. So here it is console.log username, and that is Tyrion, and that will be the output, Tyrion. Moving on to next, here we are calling this function on top, and this is a function declaration. So what will happen in declaration phase, username will be not initialized. This is a function, so it will look for the variable username. The variable name at this point of time is not initialized, so it will throw an error saying username is not defined. Here again, we are looking for calling this function, but this time it is not a function declaration, it is a function expression. So the variable say hello and username will be defined but not be initialized. And we are calling a function. We are calling say hello thinking it is a function before defining it. So it will throw an error. Say hello is not defined. Even here, we are calling a function before defining it. And a function that we defined is a function expression, not a function declaration, so it will throw an error. Same is the case here, it will throw an error. If we look at this thing here, it will also throw an error because we are calling the function say hello before defining it, and it is a function expression. So it will be an error. Here we are calling the function say hello, and we already defined it on the top, so it will work. So console log username will be Tyrion, and here username is equal to John. So let's see what is going to happen here. So in global scope, username is Tyrion, but inside this, in declaration phase, var username will be undefined. So the output should be undefined. That we can see it here, it's undefined. It's not Tyrion. Why? Because this is a scope, and in this scope, in declaration phase, we are using var to declare the variable. So box will be created and initialized with undefined inside this scope. So when I'm looking for the variable username, first I'll look inside this scope. Only if I don't find it, I'll go outside. Moving on to this part here, we have defined the variable username on top. So it will be initialized with undefined. Later on in execution phase, it will be John. So in this scope, the value of username is John. Global scope, it is Tyrion. So output will be John. Let's test it. And we can see John here. Moving on to the last one, we are calling the function say hello. Say hello is a function expression, and we have to define the function expression before calling it. And here we are saying console log username, and let username is there. So what will be the output? Let's test it. And it will throw an error, cannot access username before initialization. So in the global scope, we have the value Tyrion to the variable username, but inside this, we have a variable named username, but it is not initialized. And that's why it will throw an error, cannot access username before initialization. Even if you replace this thing with const, it will act in the same way. But when you change it to var, it will return undefined. Same thing, refresh it, paste it here. Instead of this, make it var. So now it will return undefined. So that is the difference between var, let, and const.